My name is Stephen Powers. I am an artist, born and raised in the Overbrook section of Philadelphia. I am a sign painter, I'm a raconteur, former breakdancer, present artist. We are in downtown Brooklyn, center of the universe, and this is we are on Hoyt Street near Fulton, and this is behind us is the former A&S Strauss and present Macy's parking garage with two skyways that are no longer used. The lower one was a pedestrian walkway from the parking lot to Macy's proper. The other one, again, was more of a showroom. So they have like this enormous structure that it's very important as a parking garage, but you know, it had all this amazing concrete that wasn't being used and was offered generously to us by Macy's to paint. And we really went to town on it. Love Letter to Brooklyn follows up on projects that we did in Syracuse and Philadelphia, where we come into a community and we're talking and we're having conversations with the community, and then we're translating those conversations into visual communication. When I do go into communities and I'm painting walls, I do try to find whatever visual cues that are there, and I try to like keep them there and try to like introduce them into the work. So this, I wanted to point out, is this is the font that we used on the top of the building, you know, and we got rid of these little curves, but the rest of it, again, it was here, it was gold waiting to be mined. You know, we painted these 16-foot, 20-foot letters from this like font that on the inside of the building, they were no more than like 8 to 10 inches high. And in doing so, they became like really industrial looking. They became something that one commenter offered that it reminded him of the waterfront district and the history that Brooklyn had, and it looked really gritty and it looked really industrial. I'm always looking to do a project of this size and this nature in everything I do. This one's a bit overwhelming because the size of the building and the scale of the building, I had to bring in outside help. I did bring in a team to paint the very top of the building, but the rest of it we handled. So we had a great collaboration on it. That was definitely looking at the downtown Brooklyn people that have been here for eons. I interviewed David Villarante. He was my community for this project. He's a one-man community in that he grew up here. He's got 1,000,001 great stories about Brooklyn. He still lives in the area. And he's a really interesting product of the 80s, of hip hop.
A majority of the words on this building were taken from lots of conversations with my good friend Steve Powers. And they were beautifully painted onto this building that I've been familiar with since I was a little guy. This is a bit surreal, seeing my words on this building. I've been familiar with this structure from the time I was a little guy. I mean, seriously, I have a picture of me with Santa Claus in Macy's. I have a picture of me with the Easter Bunny in Macy's. And I think the art has done an amazing job of livening up and adding some excitement to this building.
Now, a lot of it is drawing from Dave's personal history, and then some of it is just trying to paint some really fly pickup lines for the Brooklyn cognoscenti to use on each other. On the other side, facing the more pricier precincts of Brooklyn, it says, "Euphoria is you for me." With the palette and the choice, we wanted something that, for the spray painted elements of it, that would work really well, again, with the concrete behind it and the materials together. Black and white work beautifully in spray paint. And, you know, it ties back into my earliest roots of sign painting and graffiti, and it's really effective for all those reasons. So I started writing ESPO in 1984. At the time, it didn't mean anything. I liked that. Whatever I brought to it, whatever meaning I put into it, that's what it would mean. I stopped writing graffiti in 1999, but people won't let me forget it. So out of respect to graffiti writers that are out there risking their freedom on a daily basis, I'm not really comfortable with calling myself a graffiti writer. I loathe the term graffiti artist. I think graffiti is its own thing. I think art's its own thing. The combination of the two has always been awkward. But I understand, you know, people are creating this myth about me and they like the name, they appreciate the history that I've been through. So I grudgingly accept the name ESPO. I work very hard at being Stephen Powers. If people want to call me ESPO, that's fine. Call me whatever you want. Don't call me late for dinner. You know, painting, it became much more of a responsibility when I had a kid. Having a kid has made me appreciate every day. And every day is a unique opportunity to learn, to teach, to learn and to teach, to yell and to laugh and to scream and to be quiet. And, you know, it really is just, you know, we're here to live and we're here to learn. When I moved out of graffiti and I moved into sign painting, it was a real lateral move because there was enamel and metal in graffiti and there was enamel and metal in signs. So they both strive for some sort of visual communication with letters. I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in kind of the blue collar aspects of sign painting and how it's just, you know, it's meant to communicate, it has no pretensions to it. It strives for clarity. But I also like the fact that, you know, I could use the clarity and the communicative aspects of sign painting to talk about really complicated things like love and life and the negotiations we have with our family on a daily basis.
Yeah, they watch it.
It's pretty awesome.
I know.
The public art projects that I started doing, like in Coney Island in 2003, were essentially what I was doing before as a graffiti writer. They were just now working inside of the community. When I was a graffiti writer, I was at the periphery of the community, broadcasting these signals to the center of the community, to like the straight, normal working population that was on their way back and forth to work every day. And then when I went to Coney Island, I saw the strength of like starting in the center, working with the center, with the businesses, with the locals, with the legitimate people, and broadcasting out to periphery where all my former associates were in the shadowland of graffiti. I went to Coney Island on my own, and I saw the signs down there that had provided so much inspiration in my own work, and they were being lost and they were being replaced with cheap vinyl. It just was a real simple idea of saying, you know, I'll offer my services as a sign painter. I'm not even that good of a sign painter, but I'll learn on the job. Creative time came in. They brought in 40 more artists. We painted about 60 signs. Writers went down to Coney Island. They saw the work that I was doing. They saw that it was exactly what they had done before, exactly what I had done before. And there was a relevancy and there was a continuity in the work that I had done. I just really just went across the street and started doing the same kind of work again. And here we are in Brooklyn in 2011, same as it ever was. ICY was like my little neighborhood graffiti crew in Philadelphia in the 80s. And when we went back to Philadelphia, it was very appropriate to just put it in an adult context. We set up a sign shop here. We have people learning, we have people teaching each other, we have professionals like sharing what they know in the way of knowledge with each other. And it's really interesting that way, in a way that graffiti never attained that kind of guilt. Just in time too, because you know, sign painting as a craft was almost dead. And I think now in the last 5 or 10 years, there's been a resurgence of it, mostly from guys that used to spray paint walls. And also there's a whole bunch of new teenagers and young adults that never painted graffiti that see a trade and they see history and they see legacy there and they're tapping into it. A lot of what we're doing for downtown Brooklyn is we're painting signs for businesses. This is for Fulton Eyes at Fulton and Duffield for all your eyeglass needs. And right next to it, doesn't look even that much different, is it's kind of funny because it's an early manifestation of something that's on the building and it's a theme that's present in the work in Brooklyn. These tower blocks I think were actually from Coney Island. You'll see on the skyline like, you know, tower block, the tower block, the tower block. And one time I was passing by and I saw one window was lit in this otherwise dark tower block. And for some reason I found something really romantic in that. So on the building, there's a 31-foot version of this that says, "I'm up waiting for you." In the signs that I have here, there's a strong red, black, yellow palette. I just found out by a very smart woman in the Manhattan art world, yellow doesn't sell. So there's a reason there's all yellow paintings in this part, because they're all the paintings that have come from like the last 10 years of my life, and they all happen to be yellow. But really my work is moving in towards more of black backgrounds, pictorial, figurative elements mixed in with different colorful words. My palette's actually far expanded from what's here. These are my orphan children that I love that I can't find homes for. This is more of what the work is transitioning into now. We met at Maybe, we stay at Always, very romantic. And this is more of what my work really is. A lot of it's like very clear to me, and it makes complete sense to me, but I think if somebody looked at it on first glance, it'd be a little obscure to them. I'm a visual cacophony kind of guy. The more visual chaos I can get in my shopping district, the happier I'm going to be. For me, it's just it's a useful way of addressing the verbal and visual sides of my work perfectly and completely.